A very good Wednesday morning to you, and this is a follow-up to yesterday's video regarding the bomb attack here in Manchester. As you can probably imagine, quite a lot of stuff is going on right now here. I'm trying to keep abreast of it on all news channels that are coming in via my satellite TV. It seems that the bomber has now been identified. He's one of four children to a Libyan refugee family who came to Britain escaping Gaddafi's rule in Libya a couple of decades ago. He was educated in Salford University, studying business studies, we're led to believe. The question that puts in my head, which is a question that arises every single time one of these attacks occurs, is that as a parent, as a sibling of somebody who does something like this, would you not know or notice that your child is disappearing to, in the case of this particular person, both Libya and Syria? Would you not notice that perhaps his view of the world is changing, that potentially he's taking on board more radicalized views? Would you not in that case either do one or two things, or potentially both of these things? One, approach him stroke her, obviously they're usually males, and try to find out what is going on that would signify these changes that you're seeing as a parent. And two, would you not, just out of good conscience, approach the police and say that you are worried, suspicious of the activities of one of your children? Now, given the fact, of course, that the allegiance of any parent is to their child, but surely there has to be some form of allegiance to the country that has given you shelter and a home when you were trying to escape a dictatorial regime such as Libya. The other problem, of course, here is that even if you decide that the sheer terror threat or the radicalization issue is not motivation enough, it may well be that your son has killed in his attack friends of yours, people who are actually related to you, or children of friends of yours, or whatever. That would seem motivation enough that trying to nip something like this in the bud before this person does anything at all. It isn't just the indigenous white population of Britain that this person is intent on killing, so that he sees that he has an honourable death and he will have his 72 virgins. It is anybody else who is in the vicinity of that blast. Now, given the fact, and I say fact in quotation marks, that it doesn't appear to me that we ever see any family members or imams from mosques or community leaders come out and totally decry and condemn these attacks on any major city. Just this time it happened to be our turn here in Manchester, but whether it be London or Paris or wherever else it may well be, we never seem to be able to watch somebody from the Muslim community come out and strongly put a case that they do not support this kind of action, and they're going to put into place some form of action plan to ensure that no mosques take part in any form of radicalization process. Now, it may well be the case that I've just missed that. If I have, then by all means send me examples of where this has happened, and I will gladly retract that statement. But it feels to me that the Muslim community doesn't seem to join in the outrage following such an attack as this. As you may or may not be aware, all electioneering right now has been put on hold due to the Manchester attack. None of the major political parties are doing any door-to-door knocking or the hustings or whatever. All that has been put on a halt until investigations have moved along a pace regarding this particular attack. But here's a question. Should all manifestos of all political parties now be amended? And what the amendment would be is that they will put forward a pledge for a set of measures that they will put into place to counter any future act of terrorism, to put into place a number of measures where they will say this will happen to anyone who is found to be plotting an attack, has had any connection with somebody who has carried out an attack or has planned an attack. Would that be a good idea? Do you feel right now, and I appreciate it's a very, very charged atmosphere right now, but do you feel that that is a bona fide request from me to the political parties to insert that as an addendum to their manifesto for the up and coming election? It appears that 3 further people have now been arrested who, in connection to this attack. There is a big operation going on a road called Granby Row in Manchester, which is just off Piccadilly, near Piccadilly railway station, so bang in the centre of Manchester. It's an old building that's been converted into flats. It is adjacent to UMIST, which is the University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology, very, very much akin to MIT in America. And obviously all these places will be, I guess, student accommodation. So the question arises is what is actually going on within that building that would take the police and security services, and there is even talk of it including the army in that particular operation. Apparently there's also an operation which hasn't become clear right now, that somewhere in the south of Manchester, police have swooped on a block of flats, having identified a further group of people who may well be attached to this attack on Tuesday, or who may well be planning a future attack here in Manchester or in one of the surrounding areas. It appears that over the last couple of weeks it's become clear that the police are aware that there are 350 radicalised Islamist believers who've returned from trips to Syria back to Greater Manchester. Now, the question I have here is, why is it that if they are known as a possible threat, why is action not being taken to round them up? Don't necessarily arrest them, but take away their passports and deport them to Syria, and never allow them return to the British Isles. Why is that not being done? There's an old saying, prevention is better than cure. Well, as we're all aware, there is no cure to what happened here on Tuesday, but there could well be prevention for something else that is due to happen anywhere in the UK in a relatively short time. I did notice on YouTube yesterday, because I got a lot of replies yesterday to my video. There are lots and lots of people all over the world who have made YouTube videos saying that this is a hoax, that this is a false flag attack. Now, if it's a hoax, then it's actually quite a cruel hoax, because people have died. Some of them, as you're aware, children, and that is a hell of a price to pay for it to be a hoax. If it's a false flag attack, then that seems to indicate that there is an agenda here, that maybe further military boots will be on the ground somewhere else, sending our soldiers, American soldiers, Australian soldiers, whoever, to another land to put their lives at risk. Maybe that's what's going on there. Or maybe people are saying it's a false flag. For one of my correspondents, who shall remain nameless, people like me who love conspiracy theories, or as I call them, as you know, alternate theories, say that we're just idiots and nutcases who are just brainwashed by such nonsense. The thing that I found amazing, found it on the web yesterday while I was searching through for information. Apparently this Ariana Grande, who was performing at the concert, they say that she is the 100th most influential person on the planet. She's 23 years old. How can a person of 23 be influential in any way, shape or form, where probably her largest decision she ever has to make is what colour lipstick she has to wear, or does my hair look nice, or I do like those shoes, I think I'll buy them, or whatever it may be. Who is she influencing, and is that influence healthy? It seems right now that, as is always the case following such an attack, that it is very, very fast moving. We are seeing police action in many different locations, which would seem strange to me, that from one person setting off a walking Claymore mine, as happened at the Manchester Arena, all of a sudden they're picking up leads as to all these people who are attached to this. Now, we are probably only 36, 48 hours in from the attack. Now, surely that strikes everybody as a little bit strange, because if all this information has come forth since the attack, surely all this information, or a good proportion of it, must have been available prior to the attack. So that takes me all the way back round to my statement I made a few minutes ago: is prevention better than cure? If they knew all of these things and all these people were in the general locale, why are they not rounded up? What's going on? I mean, it feels to me that we, the public, and the public who are, at the end of the day, the ones at risk here, are not being considered. We are not the ones that, even though we are in the firing line, there is not a preemptive attack, for want of a better word, to rid our society of all these people who are wanting to do harm, all in the name of a retrograde, backward faith, which is hateful and spiteful, and views anyone who is not of that faith as an infidel, and the infidel has to die. It just strikes me that nothing is being done here to counter that, and all the people in power, whether it be the government of the day or MPs of other political parties, feel as though they have to tread very softly around this particular subject and can't be seen to say anything that may contradict the official line of Islam being a religion of peace. And time again, it seems to show that Islam just is not that. If it was, these attacks would not happen. And as in a court of law, a decision can only be made on the evidence that is presented. And the evidence that is presented is that all these attackers have support and are guided by, in their own words, the faith of Islam. And that in itself is enough, surely enough, to get people in the public eye to actually say what needs to be said. What it appears to me is that the opinions and the viewpoint of the rest of us in the world, who seem to see this religion for what it actually is being completely disregarded by the people who the electorate put into power. So that's kind of where I'm standing today. It seems that, just to tie all this up in a nice little bow, things are moving on very, very quickly. People are being rounded up, people are being arrested, actions are being put in place surrounding accommodations around Greater Manchester. But all this is being done on information that must have been available to the police and the security services prior to Tuesday night. And if that is the case, why had nothing been done prior to that? And if something had been done, all the people who were injured and killed and traumatized by this attack would have just ended up having a nice night out. Thank you very much for watching, people. Sorry this is another downer, this one today, but I will look forward to your comments on this. Please let me know whether you feel there is anything that can be done to try to counter what's going on at the moment. Obviously it's very fresh here in Manchester, but we're talking about a global issue here, where certainly where the first world is concerned. All major first world countries, cities are potential targets as far as I can see. It is now needed that all first world countries need to come together with a strategic plan to actually deal with this and stop pussyfooting around a religion that feels that it's perfectly all right for them to kill, maim, injure innocent people just because they believe their holy book, their holy word says it's okay to do that, solely based on how they interpret it. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Feel free to put all your suggestions, comments, theories down below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Oh, don't forget, spread all this around, all that kind of nonsense. I think it's important to get as much feedback on this as we can, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, people power will force those in power to do what's needed. Bye bye.